Hey everyone. So picking up where I left off on this Chaton and Rosemont thing, and I wanted to share with you this. And I'll probably have a cat come out here in a minute and interrupt my live stream, and I'll have to put her in the floor. And here she comes, and I'm letting her pass, maybe. Let me get her up off and down. She has a cubby hole right beside here, and she likes to sleep. And of course, I interrupted her. So when I was doing the Chaton, and Rosemonte thing, I did get this far with this swirl, and about when I got to here, I noticed that my live feed had, stopped. So I unwound this, and of course, after 3 times, my wire broke. So, it's a very short piece of wire, and it broke, and that's just something you can't overwork this wire. It's very thin, and also I find that this coated copper wire is a lot more brittle than an uncoated copper wire. So if I can, I try not to use a coated wire. I'm not going to undo this and show you how to do the swirl again because obviously that's a problem. But I am going to show you what to do if this does happen to you. And you don't want to start over this whole piece. You want to keep going. Luckily, I did get this wrapped around twice. And let's see if I can find the end of this wire. Hold on a second. Right here is the end of the wire. It's a very small piece, so all I have to do is just nestle it in so it's not sticking out. And I apologize, guys, about my hands and my nails. I was doing some painting this weekend, so they're quite in bad shape, but whatever. So since this is pretty well wrapped in, what I would do with this piece is I would probably cut just a little bit longer piece, but I know what this is gonna become, and I know I'm not gonna need any longer tail ends, so what you can do is, you can just lock this in, and so I would just wrap this twice, okay, and that's pretty well solid, and then, I would just snip these off a little bit more. So I'm really used to wearing magnifier glass. I know I say that all the time, guys, but it is, like, so extreme. Like, I don't work like this. So it's really hard for me to tell what I'm doing. And then you can snip this off. Now, a lot of people take 2 wires together and twist them and just pop them down. I don't do that because I know that this whole area is gonna be set with glue, and those wires are not gonna come out. Now, if you're paranoid, you can just leave this out a little bit longer or, take this across the back to the other side and just do 2 more little loops in here. Like I say, I can't really see what I'm doing right now. Hold on. Okay, that's what I needed to see. And you can use this to make sure it's nice and tight. And then, of course, you want to do one more loop through. Okay, and then you can just snip this off in the back. And just know that that's going to be completely okay. And then what I do is I like to make a little mesh on the back of these so that stone doesn't roly-poly around. So this is gonna go in maybe just once like this. And as long as it's not rolling around, I'll be happy with that. Okay. So when you work with the curve of the wire, it's a lot easier to do the shape. So when you're making an S shape, I usually just stick my thumb in here and just kind of roll it down. Well, now we have to start going the other way. So I just kind of lightly and easily making sure that I'm not pulling these stones off like this, making sure that they're still nice and flat to the top. Just start bending your wire into a curve. And then I also do this for the other end as well, is I take I'm gonna have to raise my camera up just a little bit so I can get my hands under here. And I want to bend this in nice and tight. Can I get just a little bend in there? Also making sure not to do this. This is that weird splay thing I don't like. So I like to keep my rhinestones facing flat. Okay, and this is the point where you can take that little mandrel tool and, if you have something like maybe like a number 2 pencil, and then just use this to build your circle. And we're going to want 7 stones. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. It sits between the 7th and the 8th. Keep it curling. And then just take this here. Also, just make sure you keep your count. Okay. And I'm just going to lock this in. I think it's looking a little big, so I want to make it tighter. I say I'm having a hard time seeing, but I'm keeping spirits alive here while I'm doing that. Okay. And then just redouble check your count. 1, 2, 7. And then you can put it on your mandrel. Just make sure that that's nice and good. Okay. It is loose, so it's not super tight, but it's the count as well as the mandrel keeping a nice round circle for you. And then what you will do is you'll take your chaton monte and just wire it to there. And like I said, I try to create a nice little cage, which I'll show you in a minute. This thing's just rolling in my way. Just string it on. This is super simple. So it's like kind of funny to describe something, which is pretty easy. And just make sure it's centered in and it's facing up. Lightly press it down and then wire it in. Like I say, nice tight pull. And then see this, I don't want it to do that. That's why I like to create this little cage on the back side. And you don't have to wire it through the other hole. I used to do that, but I found out that it was pointless because I was about ready to have glue. Self-leveling glue is going to lightly fill in every nook and cranny around that Chateau Monte. So you don't need to waste your time. Um, so I'm just making sure that's not going to do that weird crossy thing right now. And sometimes it's easier to push than it is to pull. And so that one thing isn't going to prevent that. So I like doing just another. Um, so I go like, front to back and side to side type of thing. That's kind of like that's what's in my mindset right now. Always make sure that you are putting the wire in between the stones and not over the stones, and make sure you're not catching your wire in the little rhinestone prongs. So do you see here, like I'm trying to figure out the best little cross to do, and it turns out that this is the best placement for that cross. And so I want to guide this where I want it. and then pull it nice and tight. And so now you see it's like, blah. So then you just start giving it that nice little S shape. And if you want like deeper, bigger curls and stuff, the thing that you can do is just use more rhinestone chain. You know, if you wanted this to loop all the way around and maybe connect here, of course, this size would not work for you. So what's really great about these swirls is once you do something in this shape, it's a very basic shape. You see it constantly, especially in iron work for like gates. You see it in like a lot of art type things, not exactly like this, but the idea of this S. What's super cool about that is, so this is one end going one way and the other end going other way. Well, this would be this end shape here would just be they're both curved in with the wire, right? So you can do this. You can also, which is this. So this is both going the same direction in. So you can do that. And then this is another shape that you can create with that. And then, of course, you have just the S shape. And then, of course, it's reverse, like this. So once you get this shape down, what you can do is you can make them symmetrical by shaping them together like this. So you put them together like this, and you're making sure that they're bending together. And you can even wire them together, just lightly wire them. I call it trash wire, and just make sure that they have the same shape. And then, of course, now you have something symmetrical. So there's a few things that you can do. Let me lower this down, maybe straighten it up. So, you have this, and then, of course, you can do this. Right? So these are very basic. There's not much you can do here, like, right? And so, maybe you can take this end here and you could either put it on there like this, right? Or you could attach it like this. And so you have like this, and I could take this middle piece and I could do that, or I could do this, or I could bring it down here and maybe have it connect up like this. So this one like simple S shape can give you a lot of variations in design, and you can play with it and you can try to attach it different ways and such. And you know what? If these tail ends while you do that break off, don't worry about it. You can do just what I did with the green one here, and I reattached another wire to the end, and that's totally fine, and I would not fret about it. Let's say you're chaining your wire to this, so you're wiring your chain to this, and it breaks in the middle. A lot of people will stop, and I was just wondering if I can give a little example of that. Do I have some wires sitting here that I can use for an example? And I think I do. So let me just unwind this and kind of demo what I'm talking about here. So this little guy's been through a lot because I usually end up taking it apart. Let's say, like, you do not want to do this. This wire would be very brittle and break very easily if you try to pull on it really tight. But I'm just giving you an idea here. Let's just say this thing like broke off. Okay. And sometimes, especially if you're doing a one wire design, you do not want to start all over again on this. It would take you a very long time and it would be very frustrating. So, what I like to do if this happens to me is, which I'm finding it hard to see what I'm doing, but that's okay. So, I'm going to take this back. And I'm gonna take this little wire here and I'm gonna roll it over the top, right? So, and then what I'm gonna do, let's just say this is my pick me up wire. I'm actually gonna start the other way. And I wanna start down here, not right where it broke, but further down. And I'm gonna wanna slide that between the cup chain and this covered wire. Okay. And then I'm gonna start rewiring this back on. Hopefully you guys can just see what I did. This is another way to fix something when it breaks. This kind of is goopy. And what you can do if you think that you found something that's a little bit too goopy for you, this E6000 can be snipped off and made like skinnier. And it will usually still stick. You just have to be careful, which I am not being careful right now. I'd usually see how that's a lot nice and it's not goopy. So if you have a goopy end, you can probably trim it down a little bit. Okay, so keeping that going to my end, da 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 da. So what do you do with these things? Well, a lot of people might, like I say, I don't do this. They're going to sit here and try to twist them together and make them whole. No, I do not do that. Um, what I might try to do is to get it through here one more time, through here and here. And then what I would do is I would just snip it off. And then I'm going to E6000 that in and probably along the side and the back. And the same thing with this other wire. A little bit of E6000 right there, and then along the back. That's just gonna keep that from being super duper noticeable, and if this is a base wire, it's not gonna poke someone in the head. So wherever you did that snip off at, you're gonna want to get a little E6000 on the side here where this wire is. And also on the same side, I would lightly just do a very, very light thin coat of E6000. Also, another really great one to use is I think it's called G Hypo Cement, and it has like a micro tip on it. And you can even get that micro tip up underneath this chain and where you have your wire at, and that's super duper handy. So that's how you fix when a wire breaks on you. Okay, so don't start doing that weird twisty stuff. Just stop what you're doing, put it between your cup chain and this base wire, and then do a little E6000 and let it cure. It's gonna keep that nice, sleek, slim line. Yeah, you will have just the tiniest bit of glue there, but your thing is not to slather it on. It should be just like this kind of coating here, very light and nothing thick. So once you get these little shapes in, and then another thing you can start playing with is sizes and different size cup chains, different size swirls. Like, where's the one that I was using for this? Because, so you could even play with how much swirl you want. So, like, it's just something you'll have to discover in your mind. And then you know that you probably need to add another uh, I would say 14 stones to the side to make it come out and go over again. So you can really just decide how much of this curl that you really want to have. And of course, this design has a very small curl. Also, how tall you want it to be as well can, be decided by how much of this curl that you have. And then, of course, you can just bend this, like, I could have it go to this way since, and then you can have it overlap. So there's just all kinds of just, like, cool little shapes that you can do with this design, and you can do them separately. So let's just say I overwork this and it's a piece of crap. Well, the only thing that I might wanna salvage out of this piece in particular, because this chain is so cheap, is definitely the Swarovski Chateau Montes. But I mean, you can do all kinds of cool little things here. And, so that could be one side of my center design, and I could do another one just like it. So, and then when you wired them together and giving them that glue connection, you made a really solid piece. It's not going to go anywhere. Anyway, so hopefully that shows you how to do a swirl. I'm sorry I couldn't do two of them, But instead of doing the 2 swirls, I got to show you how to actually fix something when it breaks. So I hope you enjoyed. Thank you.